The car hummed along the winding mountain road. Inside, the family chatted excitedly. They were on their way to Rishikesh, a holy town nestled in the Himalayas. The air grew cooler as they climbed higher. Through the car windows, majestic mountains loomed. Pine trees clung to the steep slopes. The children, Rohan and Priya, couldn't contain their excitement. "Look, a waterfall!" Rohan shouted, pointing to a silver streak cascading down a distant cliff. Priya gazed out the window, her eyes wide with wonder. The Himalayas were even more breathtaking than she had imagined. As they drove deeper into the mountains, the air filled with the scent of pine and damp earth. The road twisted and turned, offering glimpses of breathtaking vistas. Each turn brought a new surprise, a new burst of color, a new texture to the landscape. The family's anticipation grew with every passing mile. Rishikesh, with its promise of adventure and spirituality, awaited. The journey itself was already a part of the adventure. The Ganges River, a ribbon of turquoise, greeted them as they entered Rishikesh. The town buzzed with activity. Sadhus with saffron robes walked the streets. Shops overflowed with colorful trinkets and religious souvenirs. The air hummed with a spiritual energy. Their retreat awaited them by the riverbank. It was a serene haven, a world away from the bustling town. Simple yet comfortable rooms offered views of the flowing river. The sound of the Ganges, a constant murmur, filled the air. It was a sound that soothed the soul. After settling in, the family gathered by the river. They sat on the sandy banks, watching the water flow. The sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. A sense of peace settled over them. The Ganges, a river sacred to millions, held a powerful presence. It felt like the start of a spiritual journey, a chance to connect with something larger than themselves. The next morning, they set off to explore Lakshman Jhula, a suspension bridge that spanned the Ganges. The bridge swayed gently as they walked, the air alive with the chatter of pilgrims and tourists. Below, the river rushed past, a torrent of green water. Monkeys scampered along the railings, their playful antics bringing smiles to the children's faces. From the bridge, they had a panoramic view of Rishikesh. Temples and ashrams lined the riverbanks, their colorful flags fluttering in the breeze. Street vendors lined the bridge, selling everything from religious trinkets to steaming cups of chai. The aroma of incense mingled with the scent of spices, creating a sensory feast. Rohan and Priya marveled at the sights and sounds, their senses overwhelmed. Lakshman Jhula was more than just a bridge. It was a microcosm of Rishikesh itself, a blend of the spiritual and the everyday. The following day, adventure awaited. The family had signed up for whitewater rafting on the Ganges. Equipped with life jackets and helmets, they boarded an inflatable raft. Their guide, a seasoned rafter, briefed them on safety procedures. With a rush of adrenaline, they pushed off from the shore. The raft bobbed and weaved as it entered the rapids. Rohan and Priya shrieked with laughter as the icy water splashed their faces. The river roared in their ears, a thrilling symphony of nature's power. The guide skillfully navigated the raft through the churning water. They paddled with all their might, working together as a team. The rapids tossed them about, but their laughter only grew louder. The experience was both exhilarating and slightly terrifying. After an hour of navigating rapids and calmer stretches, they reached a serene spot by the riverbank. Exhausted but exhilarated, they stepped out of the raft. The rafting trip had been a test of courage and a testament to their family bond. As dusk settled over Rishikesh, they made their way to Parmarth Niketan Ashram. Every evening, the ashram held a Ganga Aarti, a ceremony of light dedicated to the Ganges River. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Hundreds of people gathered on the ghats, the steps leading down to the river. The air filled with the scent of incense and the chanting of Sanskrit mantras. Priests dressed in saffron robes performed the Aarti, their movements graceful and synchronized. They held flickering oil lamps in their hands. The flames reflected in the flowing river. The sound of bells and drums echoed through the air, creating a mesmerizing rhythm. Rohan and Priya watched in awe, captivated by the beauty and spirituality of the ceremony. As the arti reached its crescendo, hundreds of floating diyas, small clay lamps, were released onto the river. The sight of the flickering lights drifting downstream was magical. It was a moment of profound peace and connection. On their last day in Rishikesh, they decided to hike to Nirgar waterfall. The trail wound through a lush forest, alive with the sound of birdsong. The air was cool and refreshing, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The waterfall itself was a sight to behold. Water cascaded down a rocky cliff, creating a thunderous roar. The spray from the waterfall created a cool mist, a welcome respite from the midday heat. Rohan and Priya splashed in the cool water, their laughter echoing through the valley. As the sun began to set, they made their way back to town. They were tired but content, their hearts full of memories. They stopped at a small cafe by the riverside. The aroma of spices filled the air, whetting their appetites. They feasted on a delicious meal of North Indian delicacies, dal makhani, palak paneer, naan bread. As they ate, they shared stories and laughter, reliving the highlights of their trip. The food tasted even better after a day of adventure.